Uh, Hello everyone. A very good morning to you all. So we are just waiting for a few more people to join in, and then we can get started. So probably for a couple of more minutes. Okay. So hello everyone. Once again, a very good morning to you all. So we have around 25, 27 people in this meeting. That's not the strength that we were expecting for the today's session. But anyway, let us get started. So yeah, as you know, this session is primarily organized for taking your doubts, whatever you have from weeks 1 to 4, so that we can revise the contents of quiz 1. That is, of course, from week 1 to 4. I think what approach we can use in this session is that we'll walk through the mock paper that is also available on the portal. We'll walk through each and every question there. And yeah, we'll try to take up all of your queries from that paper first. I hope that would cover almost all the contents from week 1 to 4. Still, if there is any other thing that you guys want to ask, yeah, so please let us know. Yeah, so will that be okay with all of you if we can walk through the mock paper first?
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me just open the mock paper. Okay, so one more thing. Basically, if any one of you is interested in answering any of those questions that we'll be putting up on the screen right up front here, so please feel free to unmute yourself, or even you can answer in the chat if you want. Uh, yeah, that would be really appreciated if you would try to answer some of those questions. So let me share my screen. I hope my screen is now visible to all.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, great. So yeah, we are on the mock practice paper. And here is the first question. A code snippet is given in this screenshot, and you basically have to predict the output for this program when it will be executed. So any one of you wants to volunteer in answering this question or in explaining what is being asked in this question? Anyone? Is it difficult for you to answer this question, or there is some other reason?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, the C is equal to A dot function 1.
Okay.
Up to that line, C's value will be 10, right?
Here, C
yes.
equals
Yes,
to
sir.
A dot function. Okay, so what you're saying till then, the value of what?
C will be 10.
No.
Actually, the dot apply method for a function is not clear.
Okay.
At least
Yes,
I didn't
sir.
know that it existed.
Not clear.
All right. So see here, what we are doing is we are calling A dot function. So what is A? A is an object here in this scope. And what is func1? Func1 is a function for that. But remember, you are not calling that function, right? You are not applying those a pair of parentheses or pair of brackets in order to call that function that will return its value. No. What you are doing is you are just providing a reference to this function, to this variable C.
Okay, so that's why this dot x1 will refer to B object.
So now this C is basically what? C is this function now.
Yes.
Is it 20?
Sorry?
Is the answer 20?
Yeah, we'll discuss this. So what we are doing is apply function is basically used to call a function basically with a dynamic context. You can change the context of that function while calling it, while invoking. And how do we do that? How do you do that? You can basically pass the object reference as the first argument to the apply method. So what we are passing here as the first argument of this apply method is B. And what is B in this code? B is basically the object name. Right? Constant B, we have declared this object here. So whatever is there in this C, so we know that C basically has this function reference, that is this func1. We are calling that function with the context of B. Now, what do I mean by the context of B? That means whenever you will be using this inside that function, that this will refer to B. That is the context. So now once you call this function, you are saying B. So you will go into this function, you will try executing this function. So what the interpreter will see is console.log this.x. So the very first thing is to understand what is this. So this basically refers to this B object, right? Since we passed this object while invoking this function, so the context is B. Now, what the interpreter will do is it will simply say b.x1. And I hope now you can answer what is b.x1. Yeah, that is 20. Because B is an
one doubt here. Why the 10 is passed there?
that will be ignored. If that function requires some more parameters here, then these parameters will come into play. Otherwise, these will be simply ignored.
And that list is basically a list of parameters to the function, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
So if it is just 10, then what will happen if we don't have an array?
Sorry, I didn't get it. If we just have
so
an array.
in C.apply,
yeah,
the first argument is the context, which is
correct.
some object.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, that is another question. When we say context, it's going to always be a dictionary, is it? Or what kind of a...
No, if you will not pass
object.
anything here, so it will basically give the reference of whatever scope is this is defined, this B.
Okay. So if I just do C.apply, it will just run function one with A as the context.
No. With not A as the context, will as global object as the context.
So there will be this will be undefined, and then therefore it will log console.log will be undefined.
Yeah, that will be undefined.
Okay. And the second, so first it's clear what the first argument is. What is the second argument to apply, and why is it a array?
Second argument is basically a list of parameters that you are passing
for
to this
that
function.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
So if this function would accept some parameters, these parameters will come into play.
Okay,
but
it is
since
like
right now it is
star
not
args in Python, is it?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks. So actually in C.apply B,10, we can just do this comma 10 also, right? It will do the same thing, I guess then. Will it accomplish the same result?
Yeah, it will do.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So actually, there is C is equal to A dot func1. If there will be a parenthesis, then it will call x1 is equal to 10 in the first constant A.
Yeah, it will call that function, correct?
Yeah. This dot x1 will refer to the value 10.
Yeah, it will refer to 10. Yes.
Okay, so thank you.
Yeah, there was one more person who's asking something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, here you told that c equals to a dot func1, as we not put parenthesis, so it will not it is not as work not as a function, right?
Okay.
So here actually what this work? So c equals to a dot func1. So what is the work of this?
This
Like
is just
a dot
giving a
func.
reference of this function into this variable called c.
Okay,
Right?
and then
Like this
when
func1 is a reference to this function. In the same way, you are creating one more variable with name c with the reference of this function.
okay, then when we called c dot apply, then it will work.
Yeah, then it will execute that function.
So then in the apply function, what is actually work? After parent apply and after the parenthesis, the first element will be referred as an object.
Yeah, it
Here apply
basically
b.
it is known as the context. The context in which you want to call the function that you are referring to. So C is basically referring to a function, this func1 function. And what you want to do is you want to assign it a dynamic context.
Hmm.
Right? Because if you have called this function in a normal way, you would say a dot func1, right? But right now you are calling it in a different way. You are assigning it into a different reference, and then you are calling it with a dynamic context. What that context is, the first argument is basically the context. It is B. What is B? B is an object. So that means whenever you are using this inside that function, that that this is basically a special keyword in JavaScript. If you would have seen Java or C++, this also works there. So this will be referred by this B object. Since
Yes.
we told the interpreter that we want to call this function with B as the context. And after applying a comma, apply function accepts an array, or you can say a list in simple language. That list basically has all of the parameters. You can pass as many as parameters to this apply function. If this function that you are calling accepts some parameter, right now you can see these what I say,
It's not
brackets are
accepting
empty.
any parameter, right?
Right. This is not accepting any parameter. So that's why this argument will simply be ignored. If it would be accepting some, so this 10 will be assigned to the first one. Whatever the next would be there, it would be assigned to the second parameter. Like
suppose if function 1 will accept, suppose I let the function will accept only one parameter, okay, and I put two elements in the array, then the first element will be considered, right?
Yeah, second one will be D.
Okay, and if c equals to a dot func1, if I put parenthesis after func1 in this code, then what will be the answer? It will not
execute this
anything.
function and will return you the value of this. Okay, it will simply execute that function and it will return you what this function is returning. So since this function is not returning anything, it will return you undefined. C will be undefined in that case. If you are calling this function right away.
Why, sir? But if I call the function, then there x1 is present. X1 is as a 10 I declared, no?
Yeah. So what you are doing inside this function is you are not returning the value. You are logging that value on the console.
So then console will print the 10.
Yeah, it will print 10.
But b dot func2 will return 20, right?
B dot func2. You mean you are calling this function?
No. Actually, I want to tell that I suppose I write c equals to a dot func1 parenthesis. Okay. And then c dot apply as usual is written here.
No. And it will say that this method does not belong to this C, because this C is basically just a variable which is holding a value undefined, which doesn't have the method apply.
Okay.
See, you can apply this apply method on functions. So right now the C is having a function reference. Since you said a dot func1, you didn't apply those pair of brackets. If you would apply pair of brackets, this would directly execute the function and will return a value to this variable C. It would not pass the function reference.
Yes. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. Is it clear?
Clear now.
Yeah, everyone, is that clear?
So one doubt.
Yeah.
So what if we made the function call there itself, like c is equals to a.func1, the function call itself? So what would be console? 10, right?
Yeah, console this dot x1. So you are calling it a. Yeah, it would be 10. Yeah, I can.
So one more dot. If it's an arrow function, then
Which one?
inside the object a, func1 if it's an arrow function.
Okay, func1 is an arrow function. Okay.
Then it would be undefined, right?
You directly want to call a dot func1 or what?
Yes, directly call.
Yeah, so this will refer to the parent context. The parent, whatever this has the meaning in the parent scope. So if you are running it, okay, so this thing will become clear when we discuss the question number 3. There we have 2 different cases. What will happen if we run it as a script, and what will happen if we run it in the interactive environment.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we can take this question there.
No. That's why I'm asking is if we are using apply method to the arrow function, what would be the result? That's what my question.
Yeah, so if you're passing a context, that context will be put into that function.
No,
So
sir.
even if it's an arrow function also, like it will take the context itself.
Yeah.
But sir, in arrow function, this dot x doesn't refer to anything, right? Only
that depends.
It is
depends.
global.
How are you calling this function? That depends.
Okay. But when inside an object, I am referring in an arrow function that this dot is console log dot, that will refer if there is anything globally available.
Yeah. In that case,
arrow function doesn't bind the value of this to that object by itself, but you can bind the value of this with some object using the apply.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you are doing it manually here, but
Right.
the arrow function by itself doesn't bind the value of this to the object.
Okay.
One doubt, sir. Apply. Suppose.
Hello, sir.
yes, please.
No, I have a question. What will happen if a context isn't passed to the apply function? Like
It will be taken as a global object.
Global object. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it should be the default, the whatever the previous context was. Like if you'll see c is equal to a dot func1. So whatever the context right now, it will be passed if you don't pass any context in the apply. You need to check is it global context all the time if you don't pass anything there?
No, that depends. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When we'll discuss the question 3, then it will become more clear. When it is treated as global context and when it is treated the ambiguity that was arising in question number 3. So we wanted to discuss that in detail. So shall we move to the next question, if it is okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the answer for this question, it would be 20. Okay, so consider the following JavaScript program predict output. Yeah, so here is one more function or one more program. Looks very similar to what we have seen in question 1. So yeah, can any one of you predict output of this question?
Sir, I guess it should be 15 because apply without any objects passed to it should call the original context, I guess.
I think, is it nan? Because to apply, we are not passing anything.
Yeah.
And 5 plus, so therefore there is no this.
Correct. There is no this.
So x1 is undefined, and any int plus undefined should be nan, I guess.
Okay, so I think, yeah, now we can discuss that issue. Okay, I'll just quickly open a Replit, or maybe you can use any other ID which you want to. With Replit, I can show you both the REPL environment as well as the script environment. Okay. So if someone has this code written means in their text editors or anywhere else, can you just share it in the chat? I'll paste it directly here. Anyone has that?
Sorry, so what was that?
Yeah, can you share this code if you would have written or typed this code earlier in your code ID or editor or where it is? Anyone who has this code written in their text editors or anywhere else?
From the previous example, I have maybe start with that and make some changes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that is okay. All right. Let me just. Okay, so this was the previous example, and I think we were having one more object. Yeah, we need to create one more object. Let me quickly create it, or I'll simply copy it. So it will become B. It will be x1 only. Set from 1, from 2, and okay. All right, I guess it is okay. And then we'll be calling the fun2 function. Right. Yeah. So now let us take all of your inputs.
X1 is 20 in
X1 is
object
20
B.
in line number 9.
Okay, well,
20.
that doesn't really. Okay, okay, all right. Yeah, that will matter. Okay. Yeah. So what do you feel now the output of this question of this program would be?
Undefined.
Okay, undefined. Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir, in line 4, it is 5 plus this dot x1.
Yeah, it's okay. Let us just work on this example as of now. After that, we'll change it to 5 plus x. This is also very much similar. The concept that we want to bring out. Okay, I have got one answer undefined. Anyone else wants to say? Wants to predict? Don't worry, your answer won't be wrong. Yeah. Sorry, I lost you.
Sir, 20.
Okay, so we have two answers now, undefined and 20. Anyone else who think there might be a different answer possible?
Sir, 10.
Okay, 10. I think that's pretty much 20, 10, and undefined. Yeah, that's what we can expect. Okay. So let me call this, program, or we are basically calling this v.func2 with the help of this run button, and let's see what the output is gonna be. So output here is undefined. Right? Can anyone explain? Okay, I guess I think one of you answered the output of this program to be undefined. Yeah, can you please explain why?
Sir, because the scope is global, and in the global scope there is no x1.
Okay, all right. The scope is global, and that's why we are not passing any context here. So that global context would be passed as this here and this dot x1. Since there is no property defined with name x1 in that global object, you will get undefined. Right? Now, if I would have passed, let's say this here, what would be the output now?
20.
The output would be 20. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, if okay, if I would have passed a here,
10
It would be 10.
Yeah, it would be 10. Okay, all right. I hope you are actually getting what this apply function is doing. This is assigning a dynamic context while invoking a function. Now let us make it more interesting. So what do you think? What the answer of this program would be now?
So still be undefined on if you know it's X, right?
Okay, still be undefined. Yeah, that's a point that where we should actually discuss. Anyone else?
It should be 15.
Should be 15. Okay, I think yeah, these two are the answers for which we need the debate on. So right now, what the answer would here would be? It would be.
But sir, here you are told that var x, not x1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, my mistake. Yeah, now whoever has said 20 or sorry 15 and undefined, can you please tell me again?
It's now 15, sir.
Okay, the answer is now 15. Anyone else?
15, sir.
Okay, let's see. So yeah, this is a strange thing for all of you. Yes.
Sir, is it because this is in Node? If it was in a window, like the global function was window, it would come as 15, but now in Node.js, it would come as undefined.
Undefined. Yes, that's the difference. Now I would simply copy this program and I'll paste it in the console of the browser, any browser, it doesn't matter. I can probably show you on two different browsers. So this is Edge, and here we are getting undefined. 1 second. Okay, sorry, we are getting 15. That undefined is due to that console.log. And I'll paste this in Mozilla as well. Right. So if I'll run this function, so see what I'm getting is I'm getting 15 here. Okay. So yeah, let us come back and see why it is happening. So let's understand that this program is being executed in the window context in the browser. This x1 would be added in the global object, right? Since we have declared this variable with the help of var keyword outside of all of the functions, it would be automatically added as a property in the global object, and that would be initialized with 15 since we are doing it. Now, the moment you call this c.apply here, since you are not passing anything, so what would it do is it would inherit it from the what I say, from the parent scope. That means in which this C is defined, this B object is defined. Now, if you are taking the example of the browser console, so this B is defined in the global context. But if you are saying that this program is being executed on, or we can say as a Node.js script, we are trying to execute this program as a script. The scope in which this object is defined is, this B object is defined in, it's not the global object, it's basically an empty object. Because Node.js evaluates scripts in a modular scope, as a module scope. Now, in order to make it more clear, I'll probably try to show you how actually it is being done in Node.js when you try to execute a program as a script. Okay, how many of you remember about IIFs, immediately invoked functions, expressions? Well, not issues, no issues at all. I'll just probably write a simple example here, very simple example. This is just to give you an idea that how Node. Yeah.
Sir, is it the function that is wrapped within curly braces to have its own scope like that?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
The immediately invoke function. The function is it's an anonymous function, that is wrapped and it is called at the end of the scope, so that all the variables inside the function remain inside the scope. It was used previously to contain var objects so that they don't become globally defined.
Global, correct. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is I'm not exactly sure if this thing happens, but yeah, this gives a nice explanation of why this behavior is happening here. Why Node.js is giving a different output as compared to different browser consoles. So because Node.js programs have a modular scope, and modular scope can be simply understood as an anonymous function that Rahul just talked about. Right. So I'll just quickly create a function. It's an anonymous function. Okay. So I'll define a body in it. But remember, it's an anonymous function, so we'll wrap it inside this set of these brackets, round brackets. And now if we need to call this function, we can directly call it, right? Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
But this is not how it is being done in Node.js, because if you would directly try to call it, okay, let me tell you. We can use the call method here. The reason for calling this function via call method is because we want to provide a value of this inside this function. We want to give this function a context so that it doesn't inherit it context from outside of the scope. And how do we give it? We basically create an empty object here. Let's say I'm creating an empty object t, and I'm passing this d as a reference. Right. So now what will happen is whatever code that you will write here inside this function, that code will have the context d. And what is d? D is an empty object, right? It's initialized with an empty object that has no properties at all. And if I'll paste the exactly same function inside this, let us see what will happen. Yeah, so I hope you can also predict the output now. What is going to happen? Just try to read it once and then try to predict.
Undefined.
It would be same undefined.
Okay, it would be undefined. Yeah, definitely that's the correct answer. The answer would be undefined. 1 second, what happened?
You're using call, right?
Yeah.
It should be apply
slide
or
number
call,
37.
Which line? It's giving error, right? It's line number 19. Okay, here.
Sir, my question is, you're trying to pass in context, right? So is it call or apply in the last line 37?
Call and apply both can be used.
Okay.
Call, apply, and bind. Bind works in a slightly different way. Let me just see what's happening. One second. Just give me a minute.
Hello.
Yeah.
So there is one clarification that this function doesn't, I mean, the arrow function doesn't bind this even if you use apply.
Okay, arrow function doesn't bind this. Okay. So it inherits it from the parent scope, right?
Yeah, you cannot use bind with the arrow function. It's this link. And I also tried. Call, apply, and bind. Go to the call, apply, and bind section.
Yeah, okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay. So now what you are getting is you are again getting undefined here. But now I would like to show you the difference, because even when we were executing it without wrapping it inside an anonymous function, it was also giving undefined. And now also it is giving undefined. So the difference is not clear. In order to understand the difference, what we'll do is we'll try to execute it in the shell. Okay. What we'll do is we'll open the interactive Node.js terminal or the interpreter. And now we'll paste whatever we have written here. Right. So we have pasted the same program here, right? It is exactly the same program that we have written here. Right? It's the same program. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now if I will hit enter here, it is gonna give us what a typical browser will give. So you can see it is giving us 50. Okay. We tried the same. We tried the same program on the Edge console. We tried the same program on the Firefox console. We got the output as 15, and now when we are trying it on the Node interactive terminal, so we are also getting 15 here. But when we are running it here in this file, then it is giving us a different result. The reason for that is this. Because whenever you are running a JavaScript program as a script with the help of Node.js, this is what Node.js does implicitly. It creates a module scope of its own. Right? So what is this doing is it is initializing this function, or it is giving this function a context of an empty object here. So this D object is an empty object. So now let us try to understand what will happen here. Means if we try to run it on a browser console. So see, we have two objects here. One is A, one is B. Both of these objects have a property named x1. For A, it is 10. For B, it is 20. And both of those objects define a function. Now, what we are doing is we are calling the function that belongs to object B. So we are saying that b.func2. So we'll go inside this function. And now what we'll do is we will say that we want to assign the reference of func1 that belongs to A into a variable called C. So what we'll do is we'll take the reference of this function and we'll put it into this C value. Right? And now what we are saying is we want to call the function that this C variable is referring to with a context of what? Context of this. Right? So this basically acts as this here. If you are leaving it blank, so this acts as this. Right now I'm leaving it empty. So now can anyone tell me what is the meaning of this here? Sorry. I'm sorry. Let me correct this. So if I write this inside here, so this would basically refer to B, because we are inside a function. So if we will leave it empty, so this is gonna inherit that scope from the parent, right? So now in which scope this B is defined is B is defined in the scope of this function. And if I say I want to use this inside a function, what is the value of this inside this function? That is starting at line number 20.
It would be D.
Yeah. So this is referring to D here. And what is D? D is basically is an empty object. Now, until and unless you want create a property in this object, so dot x1 is always gonna give you undefined, right? Because you are saying C dot apply passing nothing, it will inherit it the context from its parent. The parent says that D, this means D. So you will call this function with the context of D. So this will refer to D. D dot x1 will simply give you undefined because D object has no property with name x1. This is how a script, or we can say a program, when you save it in a file, is executed in Node.js environment.
So why we are getting 2-line output like 15 and then undefined?
It is giving this. And since this is the last statement that is being executed, so that's why we are getting undefined. Since this statement will return undefined.
So like there is only one console log, but there are two outputs.
What happens is that it automatically, prints the output for the last statement executed. If you would have seen it on the console, it would be doing it the same. Right? If I'll execute this, so see, it is saying 15 and then undefined. In the same way, if I'll say console.log, let's say I'm writing 10 here. So it is again giving two outputs. One is this console.log, which is printing on the console. The other one is what this is written.
So sir, what we consider as output, the first line or second?
Yeah, it's this.
Okay.
The main thing. Yeah. Okay. Now, did you basically get an idea how a function is executed as a script?
So one doubt here.
Yeah.
What is the scope of x1 here? Like in Node environment, I mean in the script. If it's not the global, then in which scope it is defined?
It is defined in what I say. How can I explain this? That basically doesn't come inside this scope. Now, if you would have seen that there was one more portion in the box that all of the variables that are declared with where keyword, they are basically automatically added as properties of global object. But that option is a wrong option. The reason is because if you declare a variable named x1 inside a function, that won't be added. So this x1 is declared inside this function. So that's why it is not added into the global object.
Okay, so but in the previous like where we got undefined,
yeah,
even without immediate call functions, there is also like what will be the scope of x1 here?
Here in this program?
Yes.
What is the scope of x1 here?
Yes.
So this again depends. If you are running it as a script, the scope is this. See, if you are running it inside the browser console, the scope is what I say. This will be added into the global object. Is it okay?
No. One doubt here, sir. Like, if you're not using like okay. So once can you comment out the first function?
Which first function?
No, the first code which is already commented now. Can you just uncomment that and comment this one, the below which is running now?
Okay. Yeah.
No, the B also, like b.func up to line 17.
Okay.
Now, what's the scope of x1? I mean, in which scope it is defined?
It is still a modular scope, right? This is what I have shown you. That when you click on this,
in Node, in each module it has a scope of module scope.
Yeah. So what is the template?
Even,
yeah.
Even then, it would be like it is defined inside that module only, right?
Yeah, correct.
Then it would be 15. Why is undefined?
Why it is undefined? See, what you are saying is, sorry, in which case you are saying it would be undefined?
No, sir. Like what you just said is, if in Node it creates an scope for each module.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Then the var x1 is equals to 15 is defined in that module scope.
Yeah, it is defined in that module scope. Correct.
So if c dot apply we are calling, so it will take the parental scope, right, in which the parent is defined.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so the B is defined here. Sorry, the A or B is defined in that module itself.
Okay, A and B is defined in the module itself. Okay,
Module itself.
Yeah.
Okay, so the scope here is the module scope, right?
The scope here is the module scope. Okay.
Then x1 is defined in the module scope.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it should be 15.
No, but this variable x1, it won't be added in the object. Since it is defined inside the function, it won't be added as a property in the object.
No, so it's outside the function now, right?
Okay. So see, just forget about this code just for a minute. What I'm saying is that if you try to execute a program as a script, right now you can see that we have put all of the code inside a file name called index.js, right? And now once you click on this run button, what Node.js implicitly does is, let me again create step. So what Node.js will do is, it will basically create a template code like this, and whatever code that you have written inside a file, that would automatically be inserted in this code. So here, your file code will be inserted. This will be done implicitly.
I got it. So the x1 will be inside the function.
Yeah.
So the module itself is a function.
Yeah, correct.
Understood.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So for Node, there is nothing like global.
Yeah, if you are running it as a script, yes.
Okay. And for our question,
but you can still you can still access that. What you need to do is you need to either write console.log basically global object, directly global, or even global.this. So if you try to, let me comment it out. So now it will return you the global object. It is giving some error. Let's just ignore that.
Global.this.
So this is how you can access the global object inside.
You missed the dot operator.
Sorry?
You missed the dot of line 19. Global.this. It should be global.this, no dot operator. Or
no, global this.
Okay.
Global this.
So this is the same error that was coming previously. That is not curly braces is not a function.
Okay.
No, he's saying about the type error in the console.
Yeah, just ignore that. Yeah, I just wanted to explain you this global this.
It looks like this node is basically adding a lot of magic to what we typically do.
Yeah, even the scoping thing is not, very clear in a JavaScript program. Sometimes really
so
disturbing.
is it like we just use the interactive node console for maybe temporary debugging and everything, and then actually, I mean, JavaScript is not intended to run outside a browser. Is that the case?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
So usually where is Node.js used? Especially the interactive part. Like you can write your backend also in Node.js, but this console that you have to the right,
Yeah.
So that is it's making a lot of assumptions.
Okay.
And it's
Yeah,
adding a lot
into it.
of invisible things under the hood
Correct,
to
correct.
the JS program.
Yeah.
So typically, where is this used?
Well, of course, Node.js is usually used in the backend. But still means I'm not able to completely understand.
So my
Where is
question
it
is
used?
like, okay, I mean, let me ask you this: like, under what circumstances do you use Node, interactive Node?
I'll probably use it for the debugging purpose.
Got it. Yeah. That was my question.
So, sir, for our mock question, the answer should be undefined. Is it?
Sorry? The answer should be, sorry, let me just get back to it. For question second or for question third?
The one for question second, this one, I think.
Okay, so here what we are saying it is inherited from the global. It would basically be what I say. This
Not a number.
NAN. It would be NAN, not a number. Because what we are doing is you are calling this dot x1. Now it doesn't matter if it's a global object or if it's an empty object. X1 is definitely not defined in that object, and if you will try to add an undefined value with a number, it will give you NAN, not a number.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, if 5 will not be there, then what will be the answer undefined?
So if 5 won't be there, so you are saying it would be just this dot x1.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, it would still be undefined because you have not declared x1 in the global context or either in that modular scope context.
Okay.
Yeah, so is the second question clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
the answer here is NAN. Now the third question, I think we already have a long discussion on this. Now I hope you all can predict the output.
So 5 and 10.
Sorry.
5 and 10.
5 and 10.
20 and 10.
20 and 10, sir.
Okay. So basically we are
I'm
accepting.
sorry, it's still not clear.
So,
Sorry?
so according to your,
what is that this here?
So
Yeah.
according to your previous
it's-
explanation, this should be both the answer, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
highly
so both of these answers are accepted for
highly
this question.
dependent on execution context where you're running.
For Node.js, this should be 5 and 10, is it?
For 1 second. So what you're doing is object.com 20. So it would take the global object and will make it 20. Yeah. So 20 and 10, this is what will come on the browser, and
Yeah.
5 and 10 will come on the Node.js.
So it will depend on the execution context where you are running this program.
So right now this question is accepting both of these answers as correct answers. So Jaidev, I guess you were saying something. One interrupted.
I'm still not clear on why it is not 5 and 20, because when you call obj.func,
yeah,
this.x is still obj.x, right? Or is that not the case? Because
that is for the arrow
question.
function.
This is an arrow function.
So arrow functions don't refer to the object; they refer to the global scope.
But this inside the arrow function, it will be inherited from the parent scope.
And if it's a non-arrow function, then it will be obj.
Then it would depend on, yeah, then it would be obj if it's a normal function.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it would have been a normal function, then the value of this x attribute inside object, that would have changed. So x would remain 5 and obj.x will become 20. If it's a normal function in that case.
Okay. So then how do you typically decide which one to use, arrow function or standard function? Can we not, okay, let's say that I am building a larger application.
Yeah.
And like as a general policy, I say that I'm not going to use arrow functions at all.
Okay.
So what am I missing there?
See,
Is that a good
basically,
idea?
I would not be using an arrow function if I'm building an application just inside the object. I would be using the normal functions because I don't want a function inside an object to change the value of a variable that is declared outside.
Which is outside. Oh, got it. Yeah. But if I'm doing some global level thing, then I can use an arrow function if it is simple enough, something like that.
Yeah. So if you want to allow this, to basically modify some of your global object values, then you can use this.
Got it.
Yeah. So now is this thing clear that why both of these answers are correct answers, 20 and 10 and 5 and 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So shall we move to the next question?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, just one small question about the previous second question. Sir, it's coming nan instead of undefined because it is a this is doing addition on a numerical, right? Otherwise, it would have come undefined.
I didn't get it.
Here in the console.log 5 plus this and this dot x1 is undefined. So 5 is a numerical, and that's why nan comes instead of undefined, right? In the options.
Yes. That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
NaN means not a number.
Yeah. So for example, if you simply try to add 5 plus undefined, this is gonna give you NaN.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So this third question is done as well. You can select any of these, whatever you want. Both are correct, but yeah, most certainly you won't be getting any such previous question in the quiz exam, as I mentioned in the discourse post as well. But still, if there is any, we definitely can have a discussion on that and can see what best can be done. Okay, so which of the following statements are true regarding JavaScript language? So yeah, anyone of you would like to answer this?
Third and fourth, right?
It's third and fourth are true. So JavaScript cannot be executed outside a browser. That is definitely not the correct answer. We are running it on Node.js from a long time. So sorry, this statement is not true. It is mandatory to put a semicolon at the end of each statement. I'm not sure if I have put it. Yeah, for example, I didn't put a semicolon here. So JavaScript interpreter will automatically do it for me. So that's not true even. Both Google Chrome and Node.js use V8 JavaScript engine. That's true. I can understand that this might be something related to that you need to remember. But yeah, don't worry. This is good to know that Node.js also uses V8 JavaScript engine. That is also used by one of these very popular browsers, Chrome. So this is basically the correct answer. And JavaScript can be executed without a document context. So since first statement is not true, fourth statement automatically becomes true. Right. So as Jaidev mentioned, third and fourth are basically the correct answers. Is that okay to all of you? Any?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sir, here document context with respect to HTML document, doc type HTML.
When you run a JavaScript program inside a browser, you basically get a document object. Right? You can use document.write, document.get element by ID, and some other sort of functions. But that is not available in Node, or when you run it outside the browser. So that is what this option means.
Okay.
Okay, so which of the following statements are true regarding JavaScript language? Now, all the variables declared using the where keyword are automatically added as properties of the global object. What do you think this option is? Is it true or false?
I think false because function inside function scope, that is not true.
Okay, if I am dividing a boundary here, let's say I want to run a program on REPL or on or as a script. In that case, will that option will still be false? Yeah, that option will still be false.
Okay.
Yes. So okay, we need to select true options. So this is not the correct one. Is it clear to all of you that why it's not true?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. The variables declared using let keyword are never added as properties of the global object. What do you feel?
I think this may be false.
This may be false.
If it is written inside the scope, it is true.
See, it is saying
Let's say you're having
it is not
at,
saying that.
When in
It is saying
let, if we write it in the module scope itself,
yeah.
If we define it inside the module scope itself, then it will be global automatically, right?
No, we are saying it is added as properties of global object. We are not talking about global scope. We are talking about global object.
This is global object itself. That's what I'm saying.
See, there is a difference. Scope is a different thing. Object is a different.
What is the difference between scope, global object and global scope?
See, global object is basically an object that consists of all of the many sort of properties. Like for example, when I printed this global this, so it gives me these sort of objects.
Global scope is that smaller global inside it, is it?
Global scope is something that is accessible to everywhere in your program. For example, if I write something here on line number 1, so I am sure that this variable x1 is available to use. Sorry?
So I can write a let x equal to something and that will still be in global scope. So
that will still be in global scope, but that won't be included in the global object.
Okay.
So the global object, will be accessible from anywhere.
Yeah.
But then you cannot add anything to the global object, right?
The variables declared using where are added if they are declared outside functions. Means in the global scope. Sorry, I will not say in the global scope. Means if you have a variable declared with the help of this keyword where outside a function, it would be added.
So on the right hand side, when you are logging that global object,
yeah,
x1 should appear somewhere there.
Yeah, X will appear. X will appear here. Yeah, sorry. So for example, if I so you can see X has appeared here, right?
Okay, that is really weird. Basically, this is letting you do anything.
Yeah. So JavaScript itself is what I say, a kind of weird language. Okay. Yeah. So that is why the option second is not a correct answer, because variables declared using var are added in the global object, but using let they are not added.
So then the first statement is wrong only because we have used automatically.
Yeah, it is done automatically. Yes. But why the first statement is wrong is because if you would have defined a where variable inside a function, that won't be added.
Yeah.
That's why it is
nothing to do with automatically. Okay.
So the variables declared using the where keyword can be redeclared in the same scope without causing any error. Yeah. What do you think?
So second option is also correct, right? Because it is saying never added.
Yeah, sorry, it is correct.
Third is also correct because it can be redeclared, I think.
Yes. So where variable can be redeclared. Yes. So let's say I declare a variable here 7 and I declare it again with a different value or maybe the same value. Yeah, so you can see there is no error, right? And if I try to log this value on the console, I'll get 9, the last updated value. Right, this is only true with X, right? Sorry, not X, only with Y. If I try to change that where to let, I'll start getting an error. Right? Or of course, this will be the same case with const. So this is only true with keyword where, not with anything else.
So we can have to let also.
No. if I'll try to wait, it will again give an error. Right. So this can only be done with the help of where. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So variable declared using where keyword can be redeclared in the same scope without causing an error. That's also a correct option. So the variables declared using the const keyword need not be initialized at the time of declaration. Is it true?
False.
Yeah, this is false because you definitely need to initialize a const variable. Otherwise, it would give you a syntax error. Say
Sir, but we can declare a late without initialization, right?
Yeah, that you can do. So it is giving a syntax error, missing initialization. So that's why it's a wrong option. So yeah, second and third are the ones that are correct. So shall we move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So
I was almost expecting that third option to be not correct because I thought that you could do something like const x and leave it alone, but then it will remain undefined for the rest of the program.
You mean fourth option?
Yeah. But good that it's wrong because like I was just assuming that it's so flexible that it will still let you initialize something which is undefined.
You cannot expect
as a
the JavaScript in the next version can allow it.
I think doing the Java course and this course together is not the smartest idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Maybe JavaScript was intended to run in the browser and then they moved to the server side. That's why this chaos happened.
Initially, that it's a very forgiving thing and it'll let you make a lot of mistakes and not crash.
Okay, looks like many other people are also regretting taking Java and JS together. Well. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this question. So we have a Vue application here. This is basically the HTML part where we are having two div elements with ID app1 and app2 respectively. Inside the app2, we have an element, this message one inside the second div that doesn't come under the scope of this app2, but comes under the scope of this app1, has a variable message2. Let's see what we are doing in our JS file. So we are basically creating two Vue objects. You can see one is A, and it refers to the element with ID app1, and it defines a data property message1 with the value Abhishek. Similarly, our second variable for Vue instance is B, that is binded with an element with ID app2, and that also defines a message or a variable property message2 with value initialized to Rajput. So now what do you feel what the answer of this HTML would be?
Message 1 would be displayed, but message 2 will not be.
Okay, anyone else?
Same.
Okay, all right, that's true. So since app2 has the excess of message1, so message1 will be shown as whatever the value is, but this second paragraph element, it goes outside the scope of this app. Sorry, okay, this message1 belongs to app1. So when we come to this paragraph, this is defined outside the scope of this element with ID app2. And since message2 is defined with app2 only, app1 don't have any property defined with name message2. So it would leave it as it is and will give you a warning in the console that message2 is not defined in the instance or something like that.
So first one doubt here.
Yeah.
It checks for message1 and app2. So if it's not defined there, it will go to app1, right?
I didn't get it.
Like if we have a property in app2 also, like message1.
Yeah.
Then which will be displayed there?
The innermost one.
The innermost one in sense app2, which is defined in app2.
Yeah, it is app2.
It's like same like in the functions and.
Yeah, even you can say CSS means this is a more generalized way. This is a more specific way. Yeah. So the
So in
innermost one will take the fight.
Right. So in JavaScript, if we would have declared both the tags as app1, then in the second function function B, the constant B, the app2 would be replaced, right? It would be overwritten by the Rajput. Isn't so?
I didn't get it. Can you please repeat it?
Let's say in the JavaScript file, we declared both the messages. We both bind both the messages with the app1 tag.
App1.
So,
okay, so this message 2 will also come with the data here.
So would it not get overridden by Rajput, the inner one?
I am basically not able to get your idea, but you are saying is that you
So,
want
okay,
to
yeah, I had the same question. Like,
in
when you
app2,
had
in the constant B, if we take instead of message 2, we assign the message 1. Assign Rajput to message 1.
Okay.
Then it will replace the Abhishek in the app2 tag.
Yeah, the innermost will replace it. Yes.
So generally, when we have these sort of nested applications, so how does Vue deal with this conflict? Like, let's say I wrote this HTML and then I start doing the app.js line by line. So first I create A,
okay,
which is app1, right?
Yeah.
So as far as that app1 is concerned, it doesn't care about app2. Message 1 and message 2 are both supposed to be variables within app1 itself, right? It will look for both of them.
Okay.
Will that happen?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. It may happen, but the moment the execution will reach to the next object, it would be replaced by that value, even if we consider that.
So now in app2, let us say we have unrelated variables completely, which has nothing to do with message 1, message 2, and it doesn't find them, but that's perfectly valid from a Vue perspective, right? Like it's not necessary to contain, it's not mandatory to have variables in a Vue template.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So then app2 will completely ignore it, but app1, okay, let me summarize the question. Does a Vue app care that it has other nested apps inside it? Or will it just go and blindly apply whatever logic is there?
What do you mean by nested app means the nested HTML
There
element?
is, yeah, the nested HTML elements. So app2 is nested within app1.
Yeah.
So when I run app1,
yeah,
when I create a view for app1, will it care that there is another app2 inside it? Or will it just say, okay, the first line I'm seeing is message 1, so I'm going to look for a message 1. If I find it, fine. If I don't find it, it's undefined. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at the next HTML line.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about this. Yeah, Narendra.
Yeah, I guess this is the correct. Whatever you are saying should be correct.
Right. So, I mean, they don't care that there is another thing called app2, which happens to be a Vue.js app, because maybe it's not even defined.
Because the app doesn't know about the app.
Correct. Okay. It doesn't know.
He only sees the HTML in the variable. So what you are trying to say, as far as I can understand, if the app2 doesn't exist, then it will. I mean, if let's say the HTML remains the same, but the app2 doesn't exist. So it's still an HTML. Its ID is equal to app2. I mean, it's a valid HTML. Even
Actually,
if the app2 doesn't.
It's simply going line by line, right?
Yeah, and after that,
once
the app1 completes its task, then app2 get into the action, and then it replaces whatever the value of message one was previously assigned.
So the order of rendering the apps is whatever you write in JS.
Yeah.
So like if we define
nesting.
So sorry for disturbance. If we define B first and then A, then what would be there?
I guess.
Well, ultimately, the output
also has a message 1.
The output would definitely remain same. The thing is that which thing will happen first? Yeah, I guess that's the question, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Narendra?
I don't know, but the app2 should get into the action first. Then I guess. Because generally you don't create two apps in one for one application. You create components. So these conflicts should not come in the real life. There is only one root app, and then you create components, and you just combine all those components to create a larger app.
Yeah, that's basically true. We basically work with component instead of creating multiple instances of Vue class.
Yeah, but as far as the question is concerned, I think it should be the case. Whatever whatever the app is first defined, it should like get into the action first.
Got it. Thanks.
Exactly. Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me just plug in the charger to my machine. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. So which question was it? Okay. Was question 6. Yeah. So is that clear? Shall we move to the next question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, can you once again summarize the part? So, first, app one, the view object app one is created, right?
Okay.
Then app two,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then it's finding for message one in app two, and when it's not find the value for message one, then it's going for app
App one.
yes.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay.
So if both app define message one and if app two is defined first, okay, then it will render app two message one. And if app two is defined first, you mean app two defined first here in the HTML or in the JS?
Sir, in JS.
In the JS.
We'll see. We are not entirely sure what will happen internally, but the output will basically same in all of those cases. So how it behaves internally, that is I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure about it.
Yeah, I guess if you'll define the app to first, then the message one will be populated, and then after that message two will be populated.
Now the question becomes, will app one then override message one, which was previously populated?
Yeah,
if both of them have the same thing, but I doubt that because the template is gone, I think, right? The DOM is already, the div is already rendered.
Already populated.
Rather, Vue will not know that it is something that it should go and interfere with.
No, so what you are saying, Jaidev, is that if we have message one defined inside both app one and app two,
inside both of them,
yeah,
and you write app two first in JS.
Okay.
So it will go and render message one, but if app one has a different message one, it will not go and change the app two's message.
No.
Yeah, because it's already rendered.
Because it's already rendered, it's not a Vue thing anymore. It's HTML now.
Yeah, you can say this. So it's been rendered, it's been converted into the HTML. That's not.
So Vue has no way of knowing that this is something that I can go and change.
Probably yes.
And that's an assumption. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but generally it's not a good idea to create two apps.
Okay, so shall we move to the next question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the answer here would be message one.
Option 3, I think.
Okay. So yeah, this one. Yeah. So any one of you would like to predict the answer? We have again two objects here, x1 and x2. we have assigned the reference of add function of x1 into a variable y, and then we are calling it with the context of x2 and passing a parameter as a string dia.
Sir, my guess is that since the function inside x1 is called along with the context of x2, this will mean that this dot b will refer to the b in x2, that is the welcome, plus that x will be Divya, so it will be welcome Divya.
Correct. Yeah, that's the correct answer. Welcome Divya should be the correct answer. Yeah, because what we are doing is we are assigning a dynamic context to this x1.add. x1.add is this. We are assigning a dynamic context in the form of x2. So what is x2? x2 is a different object. That means this dot b will refer to x2.b here, and that would be replaced by welcome. Welcome plus a space plus the value of x. So this x is being passed as a parameter, which is this dia. Now, if we would have used the method apply here, this dia should not have been passed as it is. This should be a part of an array. Apply except an iterable.
So that's the only difference.
Yeah, sorry.
Is it the only difference between call and apply?
Yeah.
So could you please repeat the apply part?
Sorry.
Could you please repeat the apply part? The last.
For apply part, this must be a part of an array. This should be an element of an array. Yeah. So the answer here, it would be welcome and yeah. C option.
So like this kind of questions like will be possible only if like the components are same, right? In both x1, x2, like a, b, add. Otherwise, like it will give undefined behavior.
Why?
Like if we did not have b in x2,
okay,
then it will
so
give
this dot b, if you don't have b here defined in x2, this would be undefined. Yes.
Okay.
Someone has raised hand. Sorry, has the doubt been clear? I was not able to notice who was raising the hand.
We have passed here f as the dia value, and this is taking the value of b because we have passed f.
I think your voice is not really clear to me. Can you?
So can you hear?
Yeah, it's much clearer.
Like we have passed b x2 value, that's why this dot b is returning as welcome.
Yeah.
And x is the second parameter, that is dia.
Yeah, correct.
So what is the role of y dot call? Like what is y doing here? Like initially y was declared that x1 dot add.
Yeah.
And why was that done?
So y just has the reference of this function. Just has the reference. Now, with the help of this call method, we are invoking that function with a context. And the context is x2, that is this object. And we are also passing some parameters that function is accepting. So this function is accepting one parameter, and we are passing that parameter as dia here.
So but if we didn't do x1 dot add initially in the y and left it as empty only, then also would it work?
Then what you're saying is you will simply call y.
Yeah, like we can call an empty y, and then we can apply the call function on y with x2 and dia instead of first initializing it to x1 dot add. Is it mandatory to do, or will that return different value?
I am not able to get it. If you are saying if we skip this statement,
like here we are doing it y equal to y. Here we are doing y equal to x1 dot add, and then we are doing console.log.
Yeah.
So if instead of doing x1 dot add, if we leave the y as empty, and then we call y dot call, so will it run same function or will it run differently?
No. It would be it would basically generate an error because y is simply a variable.
So here
call method should be used with a function reference when you want to invoke a function. So y is having a reference of this function here in with the help of this x1.add. If you don't assign this x1.add, you cannot call this.
We can have y equal to x2.add also.
Yeah, you can have that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we can have call and apply both applied on the function only as well as apply on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So welcome to here is the output. Okay, so the next question is consider the below code. Okay, again, you have to predict the output. That seems like a simple code. Yeah. So what do you think? What the answer of this question should be?
So second option, like, because that triple dot will spread it out and then it will be a normal array.
Yeah, correct. So what we are doing is we are saying x dot b, x is an object and b is a function. Again, we are assigning it into a variable named c. And then we know that c has the reference to this function. We are calling this function with the context x, right? So once we pass this x here, so this means x dot a1, x dot a will refer to this array. And since we are using the spreading operator, this won't put the array as it is. This will take the elements out of it and will put it here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is the array that would be returned by this function, and that would be logged on the console. So second option is the correct answer.
But if you return here console.log c only, then it would be same only.
If you just run console.log c,
yeah,
that would basically give you a function object.
So, but the function is returning the value only, right? The array only.
Yeah, function is returning the array, but you are not calling the function. C, logging the value of C won't invoke that function. In order to invoke that function, you either need to use these methods like call or point, apply, or either need to use those pair of brackets.
And it can be blank. The call and apply can be blank.
Yeah, can.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
So you said to use the call function, we should use string.
Sorry, to use the call function, we should use string.
And for apply, you said we have to pass the argument as an array. You said no.
Okay. No, that's not necessarily be a string. That can be a any value. That can be a Boolean value. That can be a number. That can be a string or anything else.
And for apply also.
Just in call, you basically, what you will do is you will apply a comma, first argument, comma, second argument, comma, third argument. But in case of apply, you basically wrap all of those elements inside an array. You just pass a single array with all of the parameters in it.
Okay, sir.
So I'm not clear with the argument x we are passing. We are calling the function inside of x by passing the same argument x.
By passing, no. See, this x is not an argument. This is the context. The first argument to these methods call or apply is basically the context. That means what this will refer to inside that function. This means this reference. So this, we are binding it with x. So wherever you are using this will be replaced by this x. So it will become x dot.
Got it.
Shall we move to the next question if this is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyone having doubt in this?
So, but C is initially having the function of B only, right? Function
Sorry,
B.
A is?
C is having the function B.
Can you be a bit more louder, please?
C is having the function B, which is a function of object X only, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't put the X bracket inside the bracket, then also won't it be same? Like it would
if
go
you
to
don't
the X
pass
object.
this X here,
Yes,
if you don't
sir,
pass this X here, this is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Because
so if you don't pass it here, it would be a global object. And
so,
since this, yeah.
C is having an object X only, right? So won't it call the function inside it only, which is inside B?
I think then the meaning of this will change, I guess.
Yeah, if you are not passing X here, this will become different. This will be
what
having
will it become? Will it become the global object?
Yeah, it will become global object.
Okay.
Yeah, so shall we move to the next question from question number 8 to 9?
So just to confirm, in that case, the answer would be reference error, right? Because global object does not have A.
No, not a reference error. So this dot A will resolve into undefined, and you are trying to basically spread something that is undefined. So I think it should generate an error.
Undefined. Yeah.
I think it would probably generate an error because you are trying to spread an undefined value. Let me just try that. Just a minute. No, sorry, not. Yeah, it would probably generate an error.
I think it is taking the log object because it says the log is not accurate.
Let me try creating an object. Let's say it's an empty object. A.x. Console.log is not iterable. Cannot read property. 1 second. Build.iterator. Yeah, that is probably happening due to this because.
So I think A should be an array.
Okay.
Sir, comma dot a comma x.
Yes, also comma. No.
No, sorry. Why?
No, that is fine. I don't think you can pass a destructured object to console.log.
No, so why you're like after unpacking y.x?
Yeah, you need to like write the curly brace or something. I mean,
Array can't take dot notation.
From inside the
Okay.
array
All right. Yeah, we need to use these curly braces.
Or you can, like here you are using the.
Okay, it is giving the object as it is. So yeah, it would probably not generate an error. It will just give you 6, 7, and 8 in that case.
Sir, why is that .x used there in that previous? Can you just go back? Here, why is .x used? A.x? Because A is the iterable, right?
Yeah, A is the iterable. Okay. Basically, what I was trying to do there is I was trying to spread a property X from this A object.
But then it should be undefined, right? Because from here, the definition here, there should be no X object in that.
No, in JavaScript, I think array is a type of object. So .x works, but it's not undefined.
Yeah.
So rather destructuring an undefined, if you try to spread an undefined object, it's basically an empty array.
Yeah.
Or it's still undefined.
Can you remove that .x? I just want to see what happens. It will be the same output, I think.
Probably yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So one doubt here, like you just remove that spread operator and you just write undefined there.
Sorry, where shall I write undefined?
Inside console.log of object, inside of that object, just write undefined.
Inside the
instead
object,
of
he's saying, no, he's saying remove everything and write undefined.
Sorry, I'm still not able to get it.
Is it what you're saying?
So what I'm trying to say is remove that A and 3 dots, then write undefined there.
You create an object with undefined.
Yes.
It's an array or just undefined?
No, just an object.
You log a object with
object with undefined.
Which has only one thing, that is undefined.
Yes,
okay?
both works.
It's again giving you an empty
spreading
object.
operator looks like spreading operators create a like object or something. Or doing nothing.
Okay, anyways, yeah, let's move to the questions. So yeah, here this dot A will basically spread this operator here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and will be returned, and that would be logged by the console.log. So shall we move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so consider the field of codes import. Okay, we again have to predict the output. That seems a long program. Okay, anyway, this is not being changed.
Sir, after reducing the size, you need to refresh it, and then it works.
Okay, all of my options.
Yes, sir. Unless you press submit, it will you will lose all the data.
Okay, no issues.
It is an empirical state, sir.
Yeah. So here we have to predict the output this program will log on console. So what we are doing is we are defining a courses list. We are defining a function get course. We are defining a function add course. So we are calling a function here add course. Yeah.
Sir, if you go full screen, it might help with the viewing situation.
Is it
you need to reload after going full screen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you just press F5. I think it will.
Whatever you answered earlier will go away again.
Yeah, but nothing new has been answered, so it's okay.
Does anybody want to volunteer for redesigning the online degree site in Vue.js?
Actually, they are in
Make
plan
it more
to
responsive.
make
Oh,
it
really?
open source.
Oh, great. Nice.
Anyway, we will get back to questions.
Okay, so what we are doing is we are calling this add course function, and we are passing an object here with two properties, name and description to it. So add course is here. We are accepting an object course. So what this is doing is this is saying that set timeout courses.push course after waiting for 2000 milliseconds. That means it will wait for 2000 milliseconds, and then it will force this, then it will push this object into this courses array. But by the time it is waiting here, the JavaScript program will execute the next statement, that is this get course. So this get course will enter this function. Here again, we are applying a set timeout, but what's the parameter? Okay, so we are not asking it to wait for any time. So yeah, at least here we are saying wait for 2000 milliseconds. Here we are saying wait for nothing. So this function will be executed, whatever is written inside this set timeout, the callback function. So we are creating a new list, all courses, an empty list, and then we are using for each array in order to iterate over the courses list. And one by one, we are pushing all of those objects into this all courses and then logging it on the console. Now remember, this thing will happen before this statement is executed. So this courses.push will be executed after waiting for 2000 milliseconds, but this will be done instantaneously. So in that case, what would be the output? What do you expect? Initially, courses list has only two objects, and we wanted to pass one more object.
Set the first two objects from course list.
Yeah, so which option is correct?
Then option one. Option one.
Okay, option one.
Option one.
Anyone else who is having a different opinion? Why don't this option 2 is true?
Sir, it will be added after it is rendered.
Okay, all right, yeah. So it will be added after waiting for 2000 milliseconds. So for example, if the set timeout here, it could have been, let's say 3000, 4000, then we would get the complete list. But for now, we are just getting two of those elements that were there initially in that list, in the courses list.
So sir, when in the get courses function, we are using set timeout function and giving no time.
Yeah.
So what it will take? It means instantly?
Yeah, you can say instantly, yes. Well, not instantly, I would say, but still, if there is something, written after this set timeout, let's say here, that would be executed first. That would be put into a different call stack, but yeah, a wait time of that.
Default delay time is 0, I guess.
Okay.
Because it's asynchronous function, it will not run. I mean, it needs to go into the message queue, and it will wait for the call stack to be empty. So it will not run synchronously, but still the default time is 0. Here it's 2 seconds, but for that it's 0.
Yeah, so for example, if you would have a statement even after this set timeout, let's say console.log, So that statement would be executed before all of these things are executed. Yes, Narendra mentioned means, yeah, having a set timeout 0, it's okay, but still it's an asynchronous function.
So you are saying before execution of set timeout, if after set timeout there is console.log, it will first execute.
Correct.
And then set timeout.
Yeah.
We discussed in one of the live sessions that set timeout is a asynchronous function.
Right.
It will execute asynchronously.
Okay.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, yes. So in under add course function, if there will no set time amount, it is not 2000 value, then what will be the answer?
So what you are saying is it just has one statement, courses.push.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, then it would be the complete list after adding this third object as well.
Then add course will be run first or get course?
Add course will run first. We are calling it before.
But in our context, function get course is first, no?
No, why?
So
see, what is happening is you are
first.
calling this add course. You are calling this add course, but after calling this has been put into a different stack. Why? The reason is this set timeout. This is asking the JavaScript interpreter to wait for 2000 milliseconds in order to execute this. So once you put this function into a different stack, JavaScript interpreter will look for other statements to be executed. So after that, after putting it at a different place, it will go to get course. After getting into get course, it will again say, okay, I got one more set timeout. It will put into a different stack again, but it would be again pushed into the queue instantaneously because the default, as Narendra mentioned, is 0 here. So that means it would be done instantaneously. If there would have been some statements written after that are to be executed synchronously, then those statements will be executed, and after that, this whole thing would be executed.
Okay, got it, sir.
Yeah, so if you are having just one statement here, courses.push, definitely you will get the complete array with 3 elements.
Yes, sir.
Let me.
So one doubt here.
Yeah.
Inside set timeout function, if we want to use await word, so we can use it directly, right? Without defining async the set timeout function.
Await is used inside async functions.
I mean, set timeout is by itself is an async function.
No. See, by concept, it's an asynchronous function, but you need to use a keyword async with that function in which you want to use await.
Async keyword is necessary.
Asynchronous and async, okay, this might be causing the confusion, but async is actually a keyword, and asynchronous is, you can say, a concept.
Yes, I understood, sir. What my doubt is, like, set timeout by itself, by defining itself, it's an asynchronous function, or just the way it behaves is asynchronous?
Yeah, the way it behaves is asynchronous.
Okay.
Okay, so how is the v-show directive different from the v-if directive? Choose all correct statements. Yeah. Okay, so anyone else would like to volunteer answering this question?
Like v-show is every time it will show without like the condition itself.
I didn't get it, sorry.
Without evaluating any condition, it will directly show.
But v-show also accepts, you can pass up attribute to v-show as well, right? That either evaluates to true or false.
Sir, can I just so v-show v-if is a key is a directive that either renders it or doesn't render it, but I think v-show renders it, but it sets the shown property, hidden property, visibility
display
property. So, yeah, display property as visible or hidden. That's what v-show does. So it's always rendered in the DOM, while in case of v-if, it is not, it is unrendered and re-rendered. That is, it's popped and pushed into the DOM stack always. So
correct. So if you are using v-if, and if the condition evaluates to true, it will insert that element into the DOM, and once that condition becomes false, it will take that element out of the DOM. That means the element is not even visible inside the DOM, in the DOM structure. But if you are using vshow, what it does is it just sets a CSS property display to none in case the condition evaluates to false. If the condition is true, it will simply say display block.
And I just want to point one out in the second option. I think it should be even if the expression does evaluate to false. I think that's what it should be.
Yeah, correct. You are correct here. Yeah, it should be false. Yeah. Logically, it should be false, but yeah, still, it's second option. It still is true. vshow should be preferred when the DOM needs to be updated frequently. So can someone explain this statement why? Well, I'm saying that this is a correct answer.
Yes, because it is rendered in the DOM, but it's not. We can like show it or hide it accordingly.
Yeah, exactly. So removing an element and pushing an element again
is much lighter than or easier than modifying the div itself.
Yeah, it basically depends on the optimization. Like if you want to push and pop the elements from the DOM, it would basically be. But I say it won't be that much optimized if you try to hide or show a certain element with the help of CSS. Yeah, as you mentioned, means somewhat lightweight. So yeah, third option is also true here. So vshow directive is even rendered in the DOM if that condition evaluates to true or false, doesn't matter. And yeah, vshow should be preferred over v-if if you basically need to update the DOM very frequently. Yeah, so shall we move to the next question, if that is clear?
Yes.
Which of the below statement is true or correct about v-cloak? So how many of you have used this v-cloak directive, or maybe would have read about that?
I only read about it after the mock, like not before.
Okay, yeah. So can you explain what does this do?
Sir, from my understanding, during rendering, there is a short time period in which the HTML will go unrendered by the view. So during that time, v-cloak will hide the element, and after rendering is done, it will again unhide it.
Does it do automatically? You don't need to write any extra code for that in order to hide that or what?
Not sure. I in the examples I didn't try it myself, but in the examples only the v-cloak directive was written in front of that element in CSS also as a square bracket.
So yeah, means you are correct. But yeah, let me just add few more points to it. Means when we apply this v-cloak directive to an HTML element, what it does is, as Rahul mentioned, for a short span of time, that mistake expressions, they are basically not compiled. They are still in the compilation phase. And what it does is it shows those expressions as it is on the browser. Like for a very short span of time, if you would have seen when you load your Vue application on the browser, for even maybe for a few milliseconds, you would see the expression in those double curly braces would be shown as it is.
Right.
Yeah, right. So what we can do in order to hide that uncompiled binding is we can apply a CSS property on this v-cloak directive. That means with whatever elements we are using this v-cloak view directive in the CSS, either in the style attribute or in the in the style attribute, what we can do is we can say that whichever elements have this property v-cloak, just set the display to none for them. That means they should not be visible on the browser. And as soon as that compilation is ready, that means those expressions are compiled, this property would automatically be removed from those elements. That means the CSS that you applied on those elements having property v-cloak, that will still be there, but there is no element with property v-cloak in your HTML. Are you getting my point?
So once can you repeat?
Yeah. So what happens is when you try to load a Vue application on your browser, you see for a very short span of time, you see the uncompiled expressions being shown on the browser as it is. Right? The expressions in the double curly braces, which values are to be replaced by either computed properties or variables or whatever it is. It's just displayed on the browser as it is for a very short span of time, for some few milliseconds. Now, if you don't want to show that on the browser as it is, what you can do is, wherever you feel that this problem is happening with whatever elements, you can attach a v-cloak view directive with those elements. Let's say you are saying a paragraph whose means you are not able, you don't want the uncompiled binding to be shown in front of the user. So what you will do is, within the p element, paragraph element, you will just add this v-cloak directive. That's it. Just add this v-cloak. And now what you do in your CSS is, you can apply CSS this way. I hope you remember how to apply the CSS to attributes. You can say the elements who are having property v-cloak, just set its display property to none. Now what it does is, whichever elements you have applied this property with, it will set all of their display CSS property to none. That means they want to be shown on the browser, whoever element has this property v-cloak. But once those expressions are compiled, that means curly braces are not anymore being shown with them. They have a value now. For example, you put a variable a inside those two curly braces, and that value of a has now been changed to 8. Once it has now got the meaning, it has got the meaning 8, that v-cloak property will automatically be removed from that element, from that p element with which you applied.
So I got that, but my doubt is like if that a is totally undefined, like if the a is not there in the data of that p application.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what will
it would remove it, and a won't be shown on the browser at all. If it doesn't have a meaning, that would be left empty.
I mean, still the v-cloak will be there, and the curly braces, that thing will be shown on the screen, right?
Yeah. So it is just for the purpose, for the sake of those few milliseconds in which the Vue application is being mounted, or you can say it's being compiled.
After the compilation, if those are undefined, I mean, it's not defined, what will be shown on the screen? Like,
I think they should become empty in that case.
Empty.
Yeah, okay. So Jadev has shared one link in the chat. So shall I open that link here in my browser as well?
I don't know if it will be visible. I recommend everybody opens that because it's just visible for a fraction. For a very small time, and suddenly it disappears. And if you can't see it, maybe just open it in incognito or another browser and try it. For the first fraction of a second, I usually can see it.
Yeah.
So
that's
and it immediately disappears. So now I know how to avoid that.
Okay. Yeah. So you are using that v-cloak, right? And applying a CSS property on.
No. I'm not using it, which is why it is happening that way.
Okay.
If I use it, then it won't. Those divs will not render at all.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you can probably use that in order to avoid that. But right now, I'm not able to even see that for a fraction of seconds.
Oh,
well, anyways,
in Chrome, I can see it. In anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah. So v-cloak directive remains on the element till that the component is ready or is compiled, and it can be combined with CSS to help uncompiled binding being shown on the browser until the component instance is ready. Yeah, they are basically being shown for a very short span of time. Not really easy to detect those. Yeah. So what should be the answer for that question with whatever we have discussed so far?
Both A and B.
Yeah, both A and B, correct. Okay. So yeah, which of the following could be considered as an ephemeral state, sorry, or you can also say the UI state.
Second.
Yeah, the list of emails selected for archiving in Gmail. Now, if you were selected some emails from your Gmail account, the browser or even the Google doesn't know that whether you are going to archive them or you are going to delete them. That is just a temporary information. After that, you click an action, like you want to delete them or you want to archive them or perform some other operation, put them into a label, whatever it is. Right. So user database of NPTEL, that's definitely not doesn't come under the UI. That is persistent. Google search index, definitely not. And user shopping cart content on Amazon.in, that's also an application state. Okay. So when you click the reply button in Discourse and type part of an answer and then reload the page, the content you typed will be lost. What type of state is this?
Same ephemeral state.
Yeah.
Ephemeral.
Okay, that's an interesting question. Any changes to application level state, such as user preferences, will always require updates in the server. Is this statement true or false? What do you think?
I think false, because say if we change the themes, we don't necessarily need to send that to the server.
Why do you think so?
Because most of those things like application level are stored in the local device, things like theming and everything, or as cookies in web browsers.
Correct, that's the answer. So basically, it's not always necessary that you store that information on the server side. You can store that on the user's browser as well, right? As Rahul mentioned, you can use local storage or cookies, some mechanisms like this. So yeah, the answer is false. Not necessary, not always true.
So sir, when we are changing a theme of browser, it is changing in the client side only.
Yeah, it might be setting some cookies in your browser itself.
And so
that will remember it when you will open that browser again.
Yes, but if I change my browser theme in my computer, it will redirect the same in the mobile. Is it?
No.
So in
that storage is specific to the browser.
Sync or something.
Sorry.
So sometimes browsers have an account sync, right?
So yeah, even if you are doing the sync, that means that information is to go onto the server if you want to get reflected into some other devices.
Yeah.
Because if it is stored in local storage or any other mechanism for web storage, that is specific to that machine only.
So in case of the discourse theme changing, it is the change in the server side. Is it?
Yeah, probably, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, all right. So shall we move to the next question?
Yes, sir.
Consider the following markup and JavaScript file. Well, okay, so we are having the component apple, we are having the component pineapple, we have a button here. Okay, we'll see what is to be done. We have a long, I think, all of my response. Well, I think I can click on save. Okay, I think I will have to refresh. I'm not able to scroll down. Submit. Okay, so let's read the question first. What the question is saying is that for this application, the browser will render, I hope at least it is visible to you in some sense. Yeah, anyways, I'll continue reading it. The browser will render text apple with some number front of it, pineapple with some number front of it, and a button with text distribute fruit. If a user clicks on the button distribute fruit 3 times, what will be the value of sum number 1 and sum number 2 that are being shown in front of these labels, apple and pineapple, respectively? So let's try to understand what is happening. The moment you click on this button, that is distribute fruit, it triggers a function or it triggers something. What it does is it basically changes the value of this total fruits. It makes an increment of 11 in the previous value of total fruits. Let's see what the initial value of total fruits is.
10.
So you can see total, the initial value is 10. So that means if you are clicking on it 3 times, what will happen? You are adding 33 to 10. So 33 plus 10 will become what? It will become 43. Right? We know that total fruits value is going to become 43 once you click on this button 3 times. Now we will see how these components will react to this change. So in this apple component, we are passing a prop apple count. So apple count is what? It is basically that value. 1 second.
Apple count is a computed property of this app.
Okay. This is a computed property. What is this doing is this saying math.flow this.total fruits. Okay, so we can see that the value of total fruits now is 43. You divide 43 by 2. The answer would be 21.5. Then you take a floor of that value. So 21.5, its floor would be 21. So apple count will result 21. That means you are passing 21 here to the apple component. And what this apple component is doing is simply showing that value that it gets as prop in front of this label apple. So in front of apple, what will be shown? It will be shown as 21. While in case of pineapple, you are passing pineapple count, and how pineapple count is being computed? It is checking that if if this number is completely divisible by 2 or not. As we know that the value is 43, and that is not completely divisible by 2. In that case, this condition will become false. So this statement would be executed. That means you will again divide it by 2. That would become 21.5. You take a floor of that. That would become 21. 21 plus 1 will become 22. So you will pass this 22 as a prop to this pineapple component, and that will be shown as it is in front of it. So now if I'll ask you what will be shown in front of apple and pineapple respectively, what would be the answer?
Should be option C.
Yeah, the option C, 21 and 22. Sorry, Narendra, I was speaking at that time and I interrupted. Sorry, you were saying something?
No, you explained. And I was just saying that it just divides, it just checks whether it's even. If it's even, then it will distribute equally. If it's not even, it will give one more to the pineapple. If it's even, you can distribute in 2 parts. But if it's not even, you will have one more. I mean, if it's 43, then you can distribute it in 21 and 22.
Okay.
It is just checking whether it's even or not on the pineapple part.
All right. I hope this question is clear to all, right? The explanation is okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So the last question, this mock exam is, which of the following statements is false? Or it's probably okay. Anyways, yeah. So JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, unlike C++ or Java. Is this true?
Yes, it's true.
What is a dynamically typed language, by the way?
Meaning variables that we create don't have fixed types of object types. So in JavaScript, we just define it as var, let, or const, and we don't specify int or any other variable types.
Correct. Yeah, you don't need to specify the type of a variable while declaring it. But if some of you are definitely doing Java in parallel, so you would know that you need to use either the primitive types or the wrapper classes in order to define variables. In C++ also, that is pretty much the same. You need to use the primitive data types in order to declare them. So that statement is true. We need to select the false statements. A JavaScript program execution always starts from main function. Is that statement true?
False.
False.
Yeah. So those who are coming from the C++ or Java background and will see that question for the first time, they may probably answer it yes.
Yeah.
But for JavaScript, yeah, it's not true. The execution starts from the first line, and it happens synchronously until and unless it doesn't get disturbed by a asynchronous function or by any other way. A JavaScript program must have a function with name main defined. Is it true?
No.
False.
Okay. Yeah. So that's something that is required for Java or C++ programs. And JavaScript is also a object-oriented programming language.
True.
It's true. Yeah. So that means the
It is
options
true.
which, yeah, the options which are wrong are options 2 and 3.
So I have a doubt in 12th question.
12th question. Okay. Yeah. Yes, please.
So why like option 3 is not right?
Hey, Google search index, you don't have a control over that, right?
I think here it's better because to explain like this. So in the Google search index, when we click on say index 2 or index 3, it redirects the server itself redirects to a separate page. Like in the URL, it will be written /3 or /4, depending on our index. So that's why it's not empirical. It's controlled by the server. It's basically an application state, I think.
Yeah, I think very well. Yeah, it should be an application state because you might be opening or trying out different URLs on different machines. Different applications.
So, like, how do we define like ephemeral state? What exactly do you mean?
It is basically a temporary information which will probably get lost if you refresh your page. For example,
it's maintained till like we are on that page, and if we refresh it, it will totally clear.
It will probably be gone. Yeah. For example, if I select the answers for the questions here and I refresh the page without clicking on the submit button, all of those selections will be lost.
Yes.
And the example is given in the second option as well. You select some emails in your Gmail application or whichever you are using, and then you suddenly refresh the page without clicking on any button or without doing any action. Will you get the list of those selected emails again after the page is being refreshed?
No.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
yeah.
This 13th question, can you just tell me this about application state and system state? I'm a bit confused there.
Where? Which question?
13th question, sir. I mean, what is an application state? What is a system state? Just
application state is something that is specific to a user. Right. For example, the example given here, user shopping cart on Amazon.in. Now each user maintain its own carts, maintain its own cart, right? Let's say you have an Amazon account, I have an Amazon account. You might be having some different items stored in your cart. I will be having something else, right? So
yes,
they
sir.
are specific to user and they should be stored on the server as
well. Okay. So that's an application state.
Yeah, that's an application state. Yeah.
So what is the system state?
System state is basically pretty much everything. So you can say that application state is basically a subset of system state.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Sir, just to add to that, the user shopping cart content on Amazon, that will be an application state, right? Not a system state, right?
That will be an application because this will change user to user, right? But user database of NPTEL, it is something that will remain same every time.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So NPTEL, is it a system state or?
Yeah, it's a system state.
Okay. Okay. Sir. Yeah. Thank you.
So Pritodeep, you were raising your hand.
Yes, sir. A couple of questions.
Yeah.
Firstly, when you were explaining question number 2, there was an error coming up in Replit saying that curly braces is not a function. So I'm confused what that error actually means.
Yeah, just a minute. Let me go back to it. Yeah, here. Okay, 1 second. Let me.
I tried with the same code at my end, but I could not reproduce this error.
There might be something that I'm doing wrong here. Okay. Okay, I'll comment it out.
Sir, is it because it's an empty function, like that curly braces is empty? If you put something inside that curly braces, it might not give error.
I'm not entirely sure. No.
Okay, that's not the reason. Okay.
Well, I'm not entirely sure about this right now. It's not coming in your environment, is it?
I just copied your replit code from this particular REPL and tried it in my replit, and it did not come up this error.
Okay, this is saying that curly brace is not a function. At line number 24. This is being used in the exactly same way. Putting a semicolon here. Well, again, I'm not very sure what is happening, but maybe I'll check it after this session and we'll get back to you. Not completely sure.
All right, sir. All right. I just wanted to know what this type error means. So yeah. Sir, my next question is the mock test, the mock quiz. This particular one. Are you going to release any PDF solutions for this, or will this session be all that is?
Okay. Okay, yeah, we can release the solutions. I'll just upload that on the portal after this session.
All right.
Yeah, I'll upload the solution. Okay, no worries.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, anyone having any other question?
Sir, in the replit, I think so. The function, I mean, the replit is not considering E as the function, and that's why it is showing the type error.
The replit is not considering E as the
change
function.
the E, like in E saying that use another alphabet. Like,
sorry, I didn't get it.
He's asking to change, like, use another name for the variable, like rather than E use like D or B.
No, I think so. It is not considering. So whether you keep it E or anything else, it will not consider, because it is not taking an empty parenthesis as the function.
So in the previous commented part, you did the same. You declared in the line 23 var E. I think if you can see the previous commented part. The above part, sir.
Okay. Sorry.
Previously, you resolved the issue in the previous code.
That got resolved.
So if you once can declare it as a variable var, like option 20.
Okay. Now it suddenly starts working.
So the semicolon after E was missing before, so it was considering the function with the E itself, likely.
Okay, this semicolon?
Yes, you can remove let and run the previous code also, and put a semicolon with E.
Okay. Okay, all right. So this semicolon is basically causing the issue here. So it is saying it is not a function.
So now it is associating the line number 24 with it, because the compiler is not understanding that the line has ended or not.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's strange.
So it is important to put semicolons, right?
It's a good practice to put semicolons. However, JavaScript interpreter does most of it on its own. But yeah, it's a good practice to put semicolons basically, just for the readability purpose of the code at least. In some cases, like we just have it here.
I think I got the part, sir, because it's not, if you're not putting a semicolon, basically what it does, it's behaving like a function within parameters.
Okay. All right. Yeah, got it. Okay. So it's simply like
yes, that's a function call with the function as a parameter.
Yeah. The moment I put the semicolon here. Okay, all right. Okay, so since we are using this kind of parenthesis here, open parenthesis, that is causing the issue. Okay.
So technically, we are required to put semicolons after every line.
Well, again, I would say not technically, but yeah, it's a good practice. But in this case, yeah, it's required, at least in this case. But we have seen a tons of programs before that that doesn't require semicolon at all. So I won't say technically, not completely, but yeah, good practice.
So that means we can, call a function without like need of the curly braces, the round brackets. Like what you did in line number 24 to 26, right? So same we can do it with the line number 23 itself.
But sorry, I didn't get it. What you want to do with line number 23?
So till now, if we don't put a semicolon there, it is making a function call with E, sir. So that E with empty break is not a function. That's a type error, right? So it's taking the empty curly braces as a function. So if we like write any code inside it, it will be executed if it's
inside this object you are saying.
Yes.
Yeah, that starts giving an error. The moment I remove this semicolon, it still gives an error.
Okay. Okay.
Well, anyways. Okay, yeah. So anyone having any doubts, at least from the mock paper or the quiz syllabus from weeks 1 to 4?
No, sir, none at the moment.
Okay, yeah, I'll.
Thanks for the session.
I'll release that mock solution right after this session. Okay, please, just remind me either by putting a thread on the discourse in case I forgot. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
But I'll be doing it after the session, hopefully. Okay, yeah. Any other thing? Anyone else would like to ask?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Should we expect a question like the unknown directives like v-cloak like we have in mock test?
I would say no. I won't say. You will be getting the questions that you may not know anything about them. It's very less probable.
Okay.
There may be maybe one or two such questions. Well, I'm giving two as the maximum count here, but yeah, not more than that.
Okay.
And this two even could be extra. You may find nothing in the question paper, or even just one or two.
So sir, the overall type will be mock type, no?
Sorry.
So pattern will be mock type.
Pattern will be mock type. I didn't get it.
I mean the question pattern, difficulty level.
You may expect a notch higher than that.
Okay. And how many questions will be there?
The same number of questions.
Okay.
So the time that you got for solving one paper is 1 hour, right? 60 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1 hour.
Yeah, I think it would be very well enough for you to solve. Yeah, so any other questions?
Any descriptive type questions?
Sorry?
Any descriptive type questions?
No. This time you won't get descriptive type questions. That is format 1 and format 2. So I think if there is nothing, then we can end this session.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, so I wish you, I wish all of you all the best for your exam. Hopefully, we'll get a good feedback after the exam as well, and we can discuss.
Yes, sir. Thank you.